Hello, teachers. How are we today? Great to see you. You all look beautiful. And as we begin with our first plenary of the day, I would like to ask you all to stand up. I'm a teacher. I have to act like a teacher. I want you to look at the person next to you and say, I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for being a teacher. And since we're transmitting live on YouTube, I want you to all to turn around and look at the camera in the back and say, hi, YouTube. Please have a seat. Ladies, gentlemen, teachers, friends, good morning. And welcome to day 3, the main day of our annual Conference for Teachers of English 2025. We are overjoyed to have you all present here with us today. A yearly event that has been part of the Domínico Americano tradition since the late 1950s, our conference is once more here. We are immensely delighted to welcome you to this year's conference entitled Smart Teaching in ELT, Strategies for Effective Teaching Practices. We hope that you have enjoyed the first round of concurrent sessions this morning. It is such a delight to see so many beautiful people from so many different places with such different backgrounds, different dreams, but only one thing in common, our love for teaching and our love for learning. That's 2 things, I'm sorry. Let us celebrate learning together. We hope that many of you were able to attend yesterday and last Thursday's pre-conference, which were delivered virtually, and our opening ceremony that took place yesterday. Such an event would not have been possible if it wasn't for the contribution of our collaborators. Of course, we would like to acknowledge the U.S. Embassy in Santo Domingo, who have been working alongside the ICDA throughout the years. We would like to mention our premium sponsors, National Geographic Learning, INAFOCAM, Jinso Labs, Antillean Services, Pearson. And we would also like to acknowledge the contribution of Oxford University Press. To better serve the community, the ICDA also works hand in hand with different public entities that work for the betterment of education in the Dominican Republic, whose representatives are present with us today. We would like to acknowledge la Universidad Autónoma de Santo Domingo, la UAS, Instituto de Formación Docente Salomé Ureña ISFODOSU, Ministerio de Educación MINERD, Ministerio de Educación Superior, Ciencia y Tecnología MESIT, Fe y Alegría, Instituto Nacional de Formación de Capacitación del Magisterio, INAFOCAM, CCDA, Dream Project, and Peace Corps. At this point, I would like to call your attention to the screen behind me so we can hear a word from one of our sponsors. Before we begin with our keynote speakers, we would like to acknowledge the participation of those people who maybe you've not had the opportunity to see, but they all are part of making our conference the success that it is, and I'm talking about our presenters. I would like to call to the stage everyone that has been or will be presenting through our conference here to the stage so we can acknowledge them. This is a group of professionals that are here to share their expertise with us, and we're so grateful that they can accompany us. And we think it's important to acknowledge their presence. We have keynote speakers, we have all types of topics. A great round of applause for them. On behalf of our steering committee, we want to thank you for your great job. Please have those very white pearly smiles for the picture. Thank you, guys. We're truly grateful. A round of applause for our presenters. Already, Dave. Are you done? Excellent. So the time has come to initiate with our first plenary of this day 3 of our conference. I would like to introduce Ms. Joan Kang Shin, National Geographic Learning Academic Consultant for Latin America, and our opening plenary speaker of the day. A little bit about our presenter. Dr. Shin is a professor of education at George Mason University. She is also the founder and director of the Global Online Teacher Education Center, GoTech, at the same institution. She is an award-winning author and a series editor for National Geographic Learning. Her publications include Breaking Through the Screen, Teaching Young Learners English, Our World, and Impact. She recently published and co-edited volume with Routledge titled Contemporary Foundations for Teaching English as an Additional Language, as well as a co-author book with TESOL Press titled The Sixth Principle for Exemplary Teaching of English Learners, Young Learners in a Multilingual World. In 2021, she was recognized by the U.S. Department of State as one of the top 30 English language specialists for her lasting impact on the specialist program and the field of TESOL. She currently serves on the board of trustees of the International Research Foundation for English Language Education, TURF. With her plenary session entitled Preparing Youth for Real-World Media in English, let us please welcome with a warm round of applause, Dr. Joan Kang Shin.
Thank you so much for that lovely welcome. It is a great pleasure for me to be here with all of you. I'm very excited to talk about a topic that I think is so important for today, one that I'm passionate about, and hopefully if you enjoy this session and want to learn more about how you can apply what I'm going to be talking about to the use of AI, I'll be doing an afternoon session as well. But let's take a look at, oh, it's right here. Okay, so first, before I begin, I know I had a wonderful welcome and an introduction, but you might be wondering a little bit about my name, and so I thought I would first ask you, where do you think I come from based on my name? Oh, you have lots of thoughts and ideas here. Okay. Actually, yeah, although I was born in the United States and I'm very American, my family came to the US from South Korea. And so, yeah, how many of you all got the right answer? Okay. So the Kang, or Kang, is my mother's family name, and Shin is my father's family name. And so, yeah, so that's where my name comes from. Of course, throughout my life growing up in the United States, growing up in a family with Korean immigrants to the US, I was always so interested in aspects of language and culture. And so that is how I started to become so interested in how we can reach our young learners and teenagers as they're learning different languages to make it interesting, exciting, but also useful and meaningful to them and to. So this is why the topic today is all about preparing youth for real-world media. And I want to start by using on how teaching is different now. Would you agree that teaching and learning is different now compared to when you were students in the classroom? Yeah, we can't really teach the way that we learned when we were younger. I mean, in what ways was teaching and learning different? When we were kids, think about when you were a little kid. How many of you all were very adorable children? Yes, everyone in the room. I see somebody raising their hand there. So when you were a child, think about it. How is teaching different now from then? Any thoughts? Technology, absolutely. And with technology, we've become much more interconnected, right? So now we have to learn how to communicate, how to collaborate, how to be creative, how to think critically. We also need those social and emotional learning skills in order to be able to do those things effectively. And of course, you know, the pandemic, that created all kinds of new challenges and things became different yet again. So what I want us to think about is those skills that we need to be able to help our young learners, our teenage students, all of our students, how to become future ready. Because we, like everyone else in the world, cannot predict what the world is going to look like tomorrow and into the next year and into the next year, right? So, how do we do that? Well, first, I want us to always think about that we need to connect our learners to the real world. So whatever state that world is in now, nowadays, would you agree? I mean, things are complicated in the world. It's not so easy. There is a lot of information out there. How do we know how to access it and use it? There's so many things that we need to start learning. So no matter what we do, who we teach, what we teach, we need to think about how do I connect that to the real world and make it meaningful, useful, and relevant to our students. All right, now, I love the work of Paulo Freire. I don't know if you know Paulo Freire. He's an educational philosopher from Brazil. One of the main kind of focal points of his work is that reading the word means reading the world. And as language teachers, you should know that it's not about learning new vocabulary, just learning one new vocabulary word, or learning this grammatical structure. I mean, those are important, but when we want to make sure that what we're doing is relevant to our students, then we need to make sure what we give them also helps them to read the world we live in. So, I want us to also think about English being a global language. So if English is a global language, okay, that means teaching English really does mean teaching about the world. Because who are English speakers? Yeah, it's all of us around the world, right? So always keep that in mind. Reading the word means reading the world. And if you're teaching your students to read English as a global language, that means we're trying to introduce our learners to the world out there. Otherwise, it's meaningless and doesn't make sense. So we want to make sure we're choosing and creating materials that truly represent our world. Now, also important to connect our learners to authentic, real-world communication. And I want to know what you think that means, okay? So with a partner, next to you, do you have an elbow partner? Somebody you can, hit elbows with? I see you, don't hurt her. She looks a little concerned right there. She was like, yes, we're gonna do this. Okay, so get yourself an elbow partner and just share what are ways you connect your learners to authentic real-world communication. I'm just gonna give you like 2 minutes to discuss, and then I'm gonna ask a few of you to share, okay? All right, now begin. Okay, time is up. When I say our, you say world. Our. Very good. Good students in the room. Okay, so does anyone want to share how they connect their learners to authentic, real-world communication? Raise your hand. Okay, and I'm going to come to you, sir. What is your name, sir?
My name is Julián Tiburcio,
Okay.
Regional 17. So, how can I connect students' communication through technology, dynamism, good strategies, listening them, and respecting them?
Oh, I love that. I love listening to them and respecting them. Absolutely. When you do, then they will open up in your classroom and want to communicate more, right? Oh, that was my timer. Anyone else want to share? Okay, over here on the other side. What's your name, sir? Jair. Okay, go ahead.
I have to stand up.
Well, sure. Everyone wants to see your handsome face. Come on, let's do this.
Nice. So basically, I was discussing with my partner, and we got to the conclusion that not only teaching like grammars and vocabulary, but always relating them with something in the real world. Let's say we're talking about sports, baseball, basketball. We have sports in here in the Dominican Republic. We also have the MLB. We can talk about that. So every time we're teaching something, we can relate it with something in the real world, actually, and that's the way we can do it.
Excellent. Sports is a great topic. Last time I was here in the Dominican Republic, I went to a baseball game. And that was exciting, I have to say. Yeah. Because in in the US, we love our baseball, but it was actually a really wonderful experience here. Okay, so let's move ahead. So I am sure all of you shared some excellent ways to connect your learners to authentic real-world communication, much like these two gentlemen who just spoke. Okay, now, I also want to add this very important concept that we live in a multimodal world. What does multimodal mean? I mean, multiple modes, multimodal. Meaning, literacy, when we talk about reading the word, right? That includes constructing meaning with images, sounds, videos, color, or some combination of all of those. Communication isn't just words on a blank white piece of paper, right? It's not just words on a page. It's multimodal. It's all around us. And so I want to look at real-world media considering the fact that we are not just teaching words. Anyone familiar with Jim G and his work? If not, we'll get familiar with it now. This is something that when I read it, I was like, yeah, this is what it's all about. Multimodality is the rage today and the new thing. But it seems new only because we linguists have done such a poor job analyzing language. We treat language as words and grammar, but language has never been unimodal. Never. Look at the image here. It's the caves in Lascaux, France, right? 17,000 years ago. Before we had text, we were communicating with one another through things like these cave paintings, images on a wall, where we are trying to communicate something to another human being. It's never been just about text, yet why are we so obsessed with, grammar? Take a look at this, right? This is like modern day. Our world now is image and media driven. I think it always has been, right? So our teaching should be media driven. I chose this image, which is in Dakar, which you can see, right? Billboard. Do you see billboards around here? Yeah, with advertisement. And I chose this because if we go back one slide, right? Way back then, we were trying to communicate with one another with images on walls. And even today, we are trying to communicate something to one another with images on walls. I mean, we haven't really changed much, have we? No. So if we're English teachers and we're teaching our students to communicate in English, well, we need to make sure what we are teaching, if it is truly authentic, truly in the real world, then it is image and media driven. Okay. This is one of my favorite oldie but goodie memes. On the internet, nobody knows you're a dog. If anyone's done online dating, you can just relate to this. Okay, so this is how we communicate. Am I right? I mean, we're constantly scrolling. Maybe somebody is sitting there scrolling and looking at memes right now. I don't know. But this is what we call multimodal ensembles. And I love this. If you're familiar with my work, you know I love to use songs and music in teaching language. And I love the word ensemble, right? Like if we think about classical music, they talk about ensembles, right, where there's someone who's playing the violin and the viola and the cello, and together they make beautiful music. Well, multimodal ensembles, we're using multiple modes to communicate with one another. So for example, right, I just showed you memes. Boop, boop. Right, memes are multimodal ensembles. Right, any Ryan Gosling fans out there? Yeah. Do you ever see his "Hey Girl" memes? Hey girl, online teaching is hard, but you got this. There's whole websites with "Hey Girl" memes, and it's all this guy. Okay. I'm feeling the Kenergy out there. Okay, yeah, all right. Or things that make us laugh and make us feel better. Oh no, I'm not perfect. Okay. All right, so it captures our attention, but there's also a message there, right? And that's why this form of communication is very popular. We, of course, are now more than ever communicating with video shorts, right? I don't know if you're familiar with Griffin Frenchie, but they're these two French bulldogs. They live in South Korea, and their owners make a lot of videos. But you can use these kinds of things to teach language.
Broccoli, apples, pears, bananas, carrots, chicken.
They're so cute. You know, you can get creative. Yeah. So, multimodal ensembles, right? Web pages are multimodal ensembles. They include text, photos, video, of course. Television programs like this animation use audio and text, multimodal ensembles. So what I want to talk about today is media literacy. That is what we need to incorporate into our teaching of language. If reading the word means reading the world, that means that we need to incorporate media into how we are teaching our English. So, media literacy, that is the ability to understand, critique, and create media messages. And this is where I want us to really focus in on our approaches to teaching English. So, why is it so important for today's English educators, like all of you, to help their students develop media literacy? I mean, raise your hand if you are a hard-working English educator. Yeah, that's all of you. Okay, everybody should be raising your hand. I mean, you're here, aren't you? Because you're trying to learn more about teaching English. So why is it important to develop media literacy? Okay, I want you to, with this time a pinky partner, someone you can link your pinky with, yeah, just share one idea each about why this is important. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, 1 minute.
Are you accepting answers from the public?
In a minute.
Thank you.
In a minute.
In a minute.
Think about it.
Okay. All right, time is up. Okay, when I say real, you say world. Real. World. Real. World. Thank you. Okay, we have somebody who wants to share an idea right there. Yes, sir. What is your name?
Hi, my name is Michael.
Yes.
A pleasure. So, what I think about what is important about learning about media literacy, it is because nowadays everything is connected through some kind of media. Not only social media, also the internet is a way, it's media. And that itself has its own world. And being in its own world has its own language. There are some way of communication that is not understandable if you don't know what they are saying. And since it's what nowadays young kids and even adults who are engaged in social media or any kind of media, being able for them to understand the way of communication will be important also to get close to them, but also to educate future generations in what is that language.
Yeah.
And also teach all people who doesn't know about that language to become up to date and communicated with their their youngs and their children.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what I believe.
Yeah, thank you so much. And when we say old, you know, sometimes I think of myself as old. And I try to keep up. I mean, it's hard. It's not that easy, right? But it's also important. Okay, one
Another
more.
person?
Yes. Yes, sir. What is your name?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hector Montes de Oca. I want to say that, in my opinion, it's important because our students are digital natives most of the time. And they even teach us about how to use media, right?
Yeah.
I know that this opinion might be a little bit controversial because they don't know how to use media for learning purposes.
Yeah.
However, we do. But heck, they even teach us, right, how to use media. So I think that's the reason why it's so important. Thank you.
Absolutely. And you know, actually, we'll have one more comment from her as well. But actually, I love this idea of learning from our students. And by the way, and we're going to look at an activity that you can do with your students. But even though we as educators know how to build those skills for communication, collaboration, what do they use? What app? We will never keep up with the next app that they're going to use, right? They're already using something we don't even know the name of yet, okay? So learning from them what they're using and still, as educators, helping them know how to use it. And that is our role. Okay, yes, ma'am, right there. What is your name?
My name is Francis Peguero from Universidad Central del Este.
Yes.
In my opinion, the reason why we should we should work with our students to develop media literacy is because we need to teach them how to use it wisely.
Yes.
You know that media is used for any kind of purposes, and we need to teach them how to discriminate from what's real to what's fake. And another thing is how they can communicate properly. Okay,
Yes.
so that's what I think. That's in general, not only for communication purposes, but in general.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I completely agree with you. And it's that how to use it, right? Sometimes our younger learners and our teenagers and even young adults might be putting things out there in social media, for example, that aren't necessarily appropriate or not good for them, right? So we need to help them learn. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on, because we're going to talk about media literacy education, okay? And what I would like to know using this Farrell scale, it's a very scientific way to measure, right, how we feel about preparing youth for real-world media. How do you feel? Are you over here? Are you in number one, where you're like, this is stressing you out and you need a drink? Okay, how about, raise your hand if you're number one. Okay, one. Okay, all right, that's an honest view. What about number two? All right, that doesn't make sense, but okay. All right. What about number three? I get it. I'm not that confident, okay. And how about those of you who feel number four? Like, yes. Okay. Christmas time is coming up, so as usual, I will watch Elf again. I don't know for the how many time. Let's get excited, okay? Because there are so many ways that we can incorporate real-world media into our classroom, but I'm going to tell you a few things that I would like you to think about. Okay, I'm going to check in with you later on that. All right, so we want to empower them with real-world media in English. So, number one, I just realized okay. All right, so first, build awareness of media, okay? 2 is about building skills to analyze media. And the third one is to build skills to create media. So let's just start with number 1, okay? So when you hear the word media, what do you think of? Just call it out. What do you think of? Movies? Yeah, videos? Anything on the internet, social media? Videos, photos, images? Okay. Now, I'm going to give you some ideas, but actually I've put 3 handouts that you can just keep, and it'll be information that's in the presentation. But I'll give you a moment to get the QR code, and it should be accessible in the Google Drive. And you can keep it and use it, download it, but I will talk about these things here as well. Okay. So I'll give you a moment. And when we want to build awareness of media, I want to go back to the gentleman who shared the thought about learning from our students, okay? Because the first activity that you will see, by the way, I'm moving on, but I have this same QR code on multiple slides. It's there too. Okay, so if you didn't get the first one, that's fine. So, first of all, when we think of media, there is that traditional media. I'm not saying forget about that. That is important too, right? That is that print media, the newspapers, magazines, books, novels, photographs, drawings, journals, comics, and there was that traditional broadcast media, right, of film, movies, television, radio, and then that outdoor media, billboards, banners, posters, transit media, like on the bus there's ads, and then subway, things like that. Okay, and many of these types, because of technology, we kind of started here. Many of these types of traditional media, they're now being used in digital formats, such as ebooks, streaming of TV programs, right, on Netflix and movies, news apps, right? A lot of us aren't getting our news from the paper. We're accessing online. But in addition to that, there are all kinds of new media. That's what we call new media, right? That's social media. These online video platforms, right? The streaming, the games, websites, apps, all of these, okay? And so when we think about media, it's all of these things. So I'm not saying throw out the books, those are important too. Okay, now, but the types of media that we're using to teach English, all right, I'm going to move from here. I want to share with you this idea, because we already heard about it, about learning what our students are using, okay? So I highly recommend doing a media log assignment. Okay, I'm going to make it bigger. So this means over a 48-hour period, you want your students each to keep a detailed log of all the media that they encounter. So this includes media that they consume, media that they produce. Use the information to fill in the table below, which I'll show again, and you can see the sample entries, and it's in the Google Drive too. So notice how this can also be an excellent language activity because you're asking them to take note of where you find, see, look at, read, scroll, browse, search, hear, listen to, watch, binge watch, play, post, create, and share media. And you can talk about every single one of those. And then when you create or produce media, you might write a story, comment, draw pictures, take photographs, record audio videos, blah, blah. And then where is the media? Okay? Excellent prepositional phrases. Is it on your phone, on your computer, tablet, laptop, desktop, on the internet, on a website, in an app, on TV, on the radio, at a movie theater, in a public place, in a book, in a notebook, in a newspaper, on a wall, on a building? Okay, so you get the idea. And then you talk about what kinds of media you consume. So all of those photos, drawings, songs, etc. Okay, so when you have your students do that, right, they're going to fill it in like this, okay? So the time of day, date, time of day, morning, afternoon, evening, for how much time, and then you list the media, and then you give some details, right? So potentially you give them an example, right? So on this date, this time in the morning, 25 minutes, Facebook on my phone, scrolled through the feed, read friends' posts, blah, blah, blah. And then, right, you can see what they do during the day. So 48-hour media log. I suggest, by the way, oh no, I'm going to go back. I suggest before you tell your students to do it, you should do it. You do it. Because then also, you can compare how you use media, how you consume, how you produce media, and then when your students give you what they have, you can compare. And what do you think? Is it going to look the same? I don't know, but you should find out. Okay, so how can you use a media log in your teaching? Think about it. How can you? So first of all, I recommend you do it, then you ask your students to do it, and then, as we said, we can learn how our students use media, and then we can think about how we can incorporate what's useful to them and meaningful to them in your teaching. All right, so the next thing I want to mention, we want to provide opportunities to use English as a multimodal form of communication, both to analyze and create media. So, analyzing media, that is the read part, right? Becoming literate means actually understanding media messages. So, we have to become more literate in the text, right? And what's visual as well as textual, all of it. So I want to encourage you to also think about critical literacy. It is no longer enough simply to read and write. Students must also become literate in the understanding of visual images. Our children must learn how to spot a stereotype, isolate a social cliche, and distinguish fact from propaganda, analysis from banter, and important news from coverage. That is what we're talking about when we want them to become more literate. So, identifying stereotypes. How many of you look at media and you identify like, oh, yeah, that's sexist. Yeah, okay. Now, I want to show you a storybook from, it was in the 1970s. It's called, I'm Glad I'm a Boy, I'm Glad I'm a Girl. Has anyone ever seen this before? All right. So first of all, if you take a look at the page, we're going to look at boys and girls. Okay, I'm going to just show you a few pages. Are you excited? Yeah. All right, boys are strong. Girls are graceful. Boys are doctors. Girls are nurses. Boys fix things. Girls need things fixed. Boys are presidents. Girls are first ladies. All right, I'm not going to read any more of the book because I feel like you got the gist of the content. Okay, all right. So what do you think about this book? I mean, we're talking about gender bias. Huh? The 70s, right? I mean, come on. All right, well, let me show you something that comes from an ad. Actually, I saw this ad when I was in the UK recently. And when I saw this ad, it made me stop and think.
Since their very first days, your baby starts to write their future.
All right, so I don't have to get into it. It's for baby formula, right? So I started to think, I was being very critical of that storybook, and yet, when I look at this image, it's the same. Right? We want our babies to grow up like this, and this, it's the same, right? I'll give you a moment. So then I thought to myself, okay, when we are teaching media literacy, we have to be very concerned with the images we are using when we bring material to the classroom. Are we, in fact, perpetuating the stereotypes, right, as a part of our education of our children? So this comes from Kinder Egg commercials. This was a video, but I just took the images, right? Because that's a toy for a girl. These are the toys for boys. And then if you didn't get that hint, they made it very explicit. For boys, for girls. So if we think we have come a long way in terms of images perpetuating stereotypes, and we criticize what we have seen in the past, we are continuing that now. So what do? One is, you might think about the images and the material you bring to the classroom. And by the way, I'm going to be talking about that in terms of AI-generated images in my afternoon talk. But the point being, it's either we bring in materials that do not perpetuate the stereotype, or we do use them and we talk about it with our students, because that gives them the skills that they need to be able to look at media that they see in their real lives every single day and be able to interpret it and think about it in ways that are helpful to them. So, by the way, some of the materials that I became familiar with come from this Gina Davis Institute on Gender and Media. Do you know who Gina Davis is? Okay, because if you're some of you look very young here. And if you're very young, you probably don't know Gina Davis, but she's a very famous actress from Gen X time. So she has made it her mission to look at gender in media. So I suggest you take a look. Now, how do we combat this? For our students, we could bring in things like advertisements, right? Like the ones I showed you. And encourage them to be an ad detective. You, can do this. So we look at the strategies advertisers use to convince you to spend your money on their product. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am susceptible to it too. I'm scrolling videos, right on YouTube or wherever, Instagram, wherever, and then I'll see a pop-up of an advertisement, and there's a cute outfit, and it's inexpensive. Oh, it's going to be 50% off. I better act fast and buy it. I mean, we're all susceptible. But we want to teach our students. This is how advertisers reach you. So number one, group pressure. An ad shows lots of young people, each with their own mobile phone. Message, everyone has a mobile phone, you need one too. Association, everyone looks happy and healthy in the ad. They're cool and beautiful too. Message, if you buy the product, you will be happy and cool like these people. Or testimonials. A famous athlete says he wears a certain brand of sneakers, right? Like Michael Jordan with the Air Jordan, right? Message, you'll be good at sports too if you buy these sneakers. Or because a famous athlete wears these sneakers, they're a product you can trust. Repetition. These ads mention the product many times and say wonderful things about it. Message, you need to remember the product. By the way, you know my example of scrolling? The second I clicked on that, guess what? I'm going to see that one more than once until I buy it, right? Because that's how social media works. Time pressure. These ads use expressions like, buy now, half price this week. Message, you should buy the product quickly before you miss a great opportunity. All right, so let's be an ad detective. So take a look at this ad for Pepsi, Diet Pepsi. And it's the new skinny can. Okay, I want you to talk with your little pinky partner. What media messages do you get from this ad? And also, do you as educators see any issues with it? Okay, I'm gonna give you a couple minutes. Talk about what messages are you getting from this ad? Okay, go.
Do you need something to drink or something like that?
Oh, water.
Water?
Okay, yeah.
Water,
Yeah.
glass of water?
Okay, about a few seconds, I'll ask you. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time's up. Okay. Okay, so what messages? What are some messages you're getting from this? Okay, go ahead. Yes,
Okay,
what's your
so,
name?
Luis. My name is Luis, and I'm
Luis?
from the CCDA.
Okay.
So, we thought that maybe that image is not from today.
Okay.
Why? Because in the big 2025, some images like that are not inclusive, let's say. Why? Because they are speaking about being skinny. They are not being inclusive with the, how can I say it? Overweight.
You had a good start, and you
Yeah.
went in a direction you can't get out of
Exactly.
now.
So, also with my partner, we were focusing in teenagers and kids. So maybe they are not being inclusive with those public because most of their public is teenagers or kids. So why they pick an old woman? And also,
Ooh.
and also,
Ooh.
and also about not being inclusive, why a woman and not a man? So
Why what? I couldn't hear.
why a woman and not a woman and not a man?
Well, that's a
So-
good question.
Those things made us like being in the conclusion that that image nowadays must be controversial. So
Yeah. Yes.
that's our opinion.
So first of all, he said many things. He did say many things. And there are multiple layers there. He talked a lot about, Luis, right? Luis talked a lot about inclusivity, which is a very interesting concept right now. Actually, by the way, it's a very interesting concept, maybe wherever you live, but certainly where I live. And the question would be, how are we being inclusive? Are we using diverse images, right? Are we sending messages that might be negative to the viewer? Now, did somebody else want to say? I saw some hands raised where people want to, okay,
We
yes,
have a
ma'am.
woman right now.
Yes, what's your name?
My name is Aroni.
Hello.
Hi. In our discussion, we think that the technique that is being used there is number 2, association.
Association.
Yes. According to what it says, everyone looks happy and healthy in the ad. They are cool and beautiful too. The message is, if you buy the product, you will be happy and cool like people
Yeah.
there. So if you buy that product, you will be skinny like the product says.
And very good. I love it. Do you know, this is actually a famous celebrity. It's sort of a testimonial. Do you recognize her? I don't know. It's Sofia Vergara from Modern Family. Which, by the way, do we consider her skinny? Or is she more voluptuous and sexy? So it's an interesting choice, right? Yeah. Okay, one more comment. Yes, sir. One more comment. What is your name, sir?
My name is Francis Santana. Nice to meet you, Jen. So the technique, I agree with my peer. It's association.
Okay.
They associate skinny, beautiful, good-looking, great hairstyle, by the way, with the drink, Pepsi.
Yeah.
And the message I get from it, it's that cool people, just like that one in the picture, drink Pepsi, no Coke. If you drink Pepsi, you're gonna be just like the girl in the picture.
Yes, okay.
That's
Thank
the
you. So, by the way, it is up for interpretation. The messages that one gets. Am I right? Okay, one more, and that is the last one, and we have to move on. Go ahead, sir.
First and foremost, my name is Franklin.
Yes.
What I can basically tell or dissect from here is that they're using the colors, right? So that's something really interesting. The color that they use are like soft and reflect trust, like white, light blue. That's in the water. Just mention that it's something clean, and people associate sugar with being a little bit chubby or fat.
Ooh.
So that's also on the skinny part. I guess you guys can get it from there.
Okay, thank you so much. So, would you agree that there are many different kinds of messages you might get from this ad? And would you also agree that they're not all positive messages for our youth? I would say that there's multiple reasons why this can be problematic, right? Because you have a celebrity, very beautiful, sexy woman selling this product. Maybe there's other aspects of the image that are saying things to you. And what does this do for our young people who are consuming this image? It's actually something that it goes back to the first person who spoke, Luis, right? So if advertisers choose to present an image like this, it means that the advertiser already knows what you should be like. It already knows what you are going to think about this image. It knows that the word skinny is there. It means you already know you should be skinny. It knows that when you see an image like this woman who isn't necessarily skinny but sexy, that you will think, I want to be like her, so I will buy the product. That is the basis for so much of our advertisement. And why is that problematic for our youth? Because every single image that they see around them is a part of their construction of their understanding of the world and the construction of their identities. So they're consuming these things. So if you as an educator do not give them the skills like you to interpret it in a positive way, right? Where you know, I don't have to be like that. That image doesn't speak to me and make me want to be like it. If you don't do that, then your young learners, they're just out there seeing the images, and that affects how they see themselves. So, this is what I mean. So the definitions of visual literacy, which is what I'm talking about here, should focus not only on an individual's perceptual and cognitive abilities, they should include how visual images function in broader socio-cultural contexts, and how practices of looking inform our lives and identities. That is at the foundation of my point. Practices of looking, how we are seeing the world, how we are interpreting the world. Now imagine growing up. This happened to me growing up, okay? I told you my parents immigrated from South Korea to the US. We lived in a neighborhood where my brother and I were like the only ones who looked like me, okay? So already, my image is, I'm different, there's something wrong with the way I look. I'm watching TV. I also don't see anyone that looks like me. How do you think that that affects how I grow up in my identity, right? Then some of my friends, who care about me and we're good friends, they would say, oh, you would be so pretty if you had bigger eyes, okay? I'm like, okay, so I'm like, just like trying to fit in. Okay, so imagine this. So imagine what your children, your teenagers, your young adults, maybe you're scrolling through and you see those influencers on Instagram who, by the way, are using filters. And that's how you construct your image of who you should be, what you should look like, how you should act. We need to do better as educators to help our young learners not become susceptible to that. So when you use media, I have here the ad, right? We have to be mindful about what the images represent. So what do these images communicate about people, about society, about our culture, and also myself? Okay, I didn't even get to that. Somebody mentioned like not having a man. There was a whole thing with like images of men. Okay. So, I suggest, and I will make this bigger, but you know, NAMLY at namly.net has great resources for building media literacy. Okay, and now I'm going to make it bigger, okay, because it's very small. So, for example, in their framework, they're trying to get students to think about who made this, who made that ad, who wrote that book, right? Who wrote that newspaper article, right? Why was it made? What does this want me to do? Always think, any media you consume, somebody wants you to do something or somebody wants you to think something. Even the greatest novelist, right? I love Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. What is she trying to tell me about what a woman's role in that society is? And why does that affect me now? You know, things like that. Okay, who's the target audience? Who are they talking to? Who is this for? Everything you consume, somebody's trying to communicate something to you. Oh, economics. Who paid for this? Somebody spent some money on it. What's their purpose? Who might benefit from this message? Who might be harmed by it? Is this message good for me or people like me? What does a storyteller want me to remember? And then also, what actions might I take in response to this? Okay, let's keep moving. Content. What does this want me to think or think about? What would someone learn from this? The techniques, we learned this for the ad. What techniques are used and why? And also, very important, remember I talked about in this world now, we also need those social and emotional skills, right? Think about how might different people understand this message differently. Think about another person, maybe who's not like you. What is my interpretation? What do I learn about myself? Okay, the last part is about the context, representations and reality. When was it made? Oh, somebody mentioned when, right? When was it made? That puts it into a context. Where and how it was shared. And finally, credibility. Is this fact, opinion, or something else? Okay, you get the idea. We need to get our students to question the messages in our media. So I pulled this together. By the way, these materials do come from my university. Through the US Department of State, we have a massive open online course that we offer now and then. And in that MOOC, through that open program, we pulled together just 9 key questions you could use in your English language class. 9 key questions. Who made it? Why was it made? What creative techniques were used? What are the obvious messages in it? What do I think or feel about it? What might other people think or feel about it? What kinds of people are in it? What kinds of people are missing from it? And what are the indirect messages? This is what we talked about. Okay, so for example, remember I told you when I was growing up, okay, I felt strange because nobody looked like me. Then, by the way, when I grew up, I moved to Korea to teach English and to prepare English teachers. And then I was told by the Korean students I had that I didn't look Korean because I looked too dark. And then my skin was too dark. And they also encouraged me to, get an eye operation and start using skin whitening cream. Okay, so anyway, in Asia, it's a whole thing, right? So if I were to use something like this advertisement, this is actually from the Philippines.
It's makeover time. Wow! Meet your new best friend, Black and White. Unlock the power of nature with up to 3 times more whitening actives and sun protection. For naturally whiter skin, it's truly a beautiful new you. New Black and White. Start something beautiful.
All right. It's pretty explicit, right? So the idea is you want to go through those questions, this media Q&A routine with your students, right? If you use media, use it to get them to think about what the images represent. Okay, now, I think, what time is it? I don't have too much time, so I'm going to move on to creating messages. You need to also read and write media messages, not just interpret, but help our students to create them. And we know that our young learners are not just consumers, but also producers of information. That is why it's important. So, of course, we could use any kind of app, whatever. There's plenty. But we need to make sure that they are practicing how to create things like this. And I use this one. Oh, I'm not perfect. Because it can start even if your students are very young, right? And they're just learning to read and write, you can still start to put image with text in a simple way. So getting them to meme it. You can use any kind of app you can find, whatever's available to you. Or if you can't use that in your classroom, you can just create something. You just use an image. You could put it on a PowerPoint, Word doc, whatever, and put your text there. And you could even print it out or something if you wanted to, okay? So the font is Impact. So if you were to use, oh, by the way, this is my dog. Yeah, his name is Sherlock Holmes, because he's part beagle, part bulldog, and I named him Sherlock Holmes because when I first met him, he was like, he was on the case. So I was like, oh, he's Sherlock Holmes. Okay, but he's here, he's at the vet, and he looks happy because the vet, they have these big treats that we don't have at home. So whenever he goes to the vet, he's very excited. Okay, so your text here. If you wanted to use this for a meme, what would you write? What could you write? You don't know? Okay, I'll share. Oh yeah, go ahead, say it out loud. Oh, mother, I crave for food. Feed me. Huh? What's next? Oh, yeah, what's next? Okay. Yes, sir. Oh, teacher, don't assign homework today. Okay. I used it to say, I can hear you now. Okay. Now, simple, easy. Also, you can see on social media, you can just voice over any video, right? So you could just find a video that's funny and cute, and then just record your voice over it. So maybe you get your students, give them a chance to do a voiceover. All right, check out this one.
Come on, Nasa. What? Come on, you just big for that. Come on. I dare you.
We got customers.
Hold on, wait a minute. Let me get some water. I'm tired.
That's what's up. Check your time, bro. Wait, get some water.
Okay. All right.
I'm coming. What you gonna do?
Come on in.
I love that one. Also, we have a second dog, a corgi. Love that. I'm like, wow. Okay, anyway, so these are easy ways to get your students to put image with text. All right, let me tell you a story. This is just an example of how you and your students can just take any images you have on your phone. If you're like me, you have thousands of photos. And you can build a story and start teaching your students how to build a story with text. Okay? So, would you like to hear the story of Sherlock? All right. By Joan Kang Shin. Oops, went the wrong way. Once upon a time, there was a puppy named Sherlock. His mommy loved him very much. They worked together, they played together. Then one day, his mommy got married. Now he was part of a family. The children loved him, and he loved the children. But one day, the family adopted another puppy. Her name was Penelope. Sherlock was not very excited about this new puppy. Penelope loved Sherlock, but Sherlock did not like the new puppy. She kept following him around. She took up all his space. Okay, now, even though this PowerPoint, I included some audio in the next part. Oop, it didn't work.
Then, one day, Penelope wanted to play. Sherlock got angry.
And then I incorporated video.
They fought and fought until Sherlock realized this was fun. And now they are best friends.
And that is the story of Sherlock and Penelope. Did you like my story? I mean, it's a true story, 100%, okay? And you can even use something like Book Creator and encourage your students to make their own story. And if you click on it, you will see the whole thing narrated by a child. Okay. Or you can incorporate other media. Like, I love to use Chatterpix. You can draw a mouth and then have it talk. So I could add this.
I am not excited about this new puppy.
Okay, so if you use Chatterpix, you just draw the line on the mouth and then record, and it'll make the mouth move, which I love. You can do that with your friend, with your husband or partner or wife, and just put a line there and have them say whatever you want to hear. Okay, so let's keep going. So think about what stories can you make with the photos and videos you have, and also what stories can your students share. So what I want to say, we're at the end. We want to make sure we engage our students in things like real-world projects to prepare them for their future. And I know I don't have much time. We're almost at the end. I'll just show this one, and then we'll have to skip. This is about connected to the ads, right? You could get your students to create 2 ads, but it has to be for 2 different audiences. So here you can see this student has a cell phone they're trying to sell, but the student puts themselves in the shoes of an advertiser, and then they create one ad for kids, one ad for grandparents, and you can see that she had 2 different types of ads. Imagine, as a student, if you're putting yourself in the shoes of an advertiser, you are thinking critically about messages and how images and text are used to send messages to others, and then it helps you to interpret them when you encounter them. All right, so sorry, I'm gonna have to move forward, and I can't give you this last one, unfortunately, because we're out of time, but I want you to think about building awareness of media, building skills to analyze media, and building skills to create media. Keeping in mind that you need to be prepared to do this. By the way, how are you feeling now? 1, 2, 3, or 4? 4, thank you, okay. All right, so just to summarize, I want you to connect your learners to the real world. Always remember the words of Paulo Freire. He said, reading the word means reading the word. Thank you. Connect your learners to authentic real-world communication, but remember that we live in a multimodal world, so you have to bring that into the classroom. And ultimately, we want to connect our learners to themselves and to each other. That's what it's all about. It's all about the communication to bring us closer together, to understand more deeply how we communicate, and that is really going to make the world a better place. So, to all of you, thank you for your attention. Thank you. Okay. If you want more resources, you can use that QR code right there. Thank you. Oh, did you want to say something? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, does anyone have any questions? By the way, if you could just fill out this form, that would be great.
This is a QR code to evaluate the presentation of Ms. Kang. Thanks so much for your presence here. When you get ready for the question space, you can tell us on which shows to begin.
Any questions? Comments?
So now's your time for making questions related to Ms. Joan Kang.
Problems? Solutions? Anything?
Come on, guys, you're a teacher. You may have any question.
Oh, we have a question right here.
Hey, let's go.
Yes, sir. First, what is your name?
Michael Moore for Domínico Americano.
Nice to meet you.
Just have a comment about the Sofia Varga Pepsi ad that we saw.
Okay, sure.
I only had the observation after you passed the slide. So,
okay.
To me, when you actually looked at the text, it was just saying that we have a new skinny can. That's the only information they were actually promoting was the shape of a can, nothing about the actual product.
Yes.
So they were actually relying on the public's subconscious interpretation of all the other messages that were happening. The only thing they were actually telling us is that they have a new skinny can. Who cares?
Right.
Doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
But all of those other messages we were getting, I find it very interesting and powerful.
Yes,
So.
absolutely. Because of course, if you're drinking it from a skinny can, that's really what's going to make you skinnier, right? But I love your point, because the real world authentic media, it relies on both the text, but as you said, it was just the new skinny can. And almost the entirety of the messaging was through image. And that's the way the real world is now, right? Thank you. Yep.
We have another person.
Yes, it's just an observation. The Mentimeter link says that the conference was given by a Genesis Romero. It has another name. That's not your name. The form. It's okay? Okay, good.
Oh, okay, yeah, it was from her. Thank you. Thank you. So ignore the name, fill out the form.
Miss.
Yes, what is your name?
This is a real question. Have you thought about making a comic book of the story of Sherlock and Penelope? I
Yeah.
think young learners could like learn and enjoy reading it. So just that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, to get to this gentleman's point here, right, there was a lot more communicated in the images than just text, am I right? Because the story is about Sherlock and Penelope trying to develop a new relationship. But the images show it's about a family coming from different backgrounds, building new relationships. So I appreciate that comment, and it connects with what the other gentleman said, right? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Willer Baez from Instituto. I wanted to ask you, to what extent would you advise to apply with political topics? Because something I do sometimes is that I dive into the New York Times website, and I look for something related to Trump because it's very popular, and I teach my students a lesson about critical thinking and try to sneak into what it says, but what they're trying to say. But I understand that sometimes, and depending on some contexts, that content can be controversial.
Yeah.
So that's my question for you. To what extent would you recommend including political topics into our classes? Thank you.
Yeah. Do you know what? It depends on your students, your context. If you're teaching younger learners, it depends on what your parents' goals are for your students. So you have to definitely choose materials wisely based on your students, where they are, their age, their developmental level, their goals for using English. As you said, sometimes the materials can be controversial, and it really depends on your classroom context and what you can and can't do. But what you are not limited to are the skills for interpretation that you can build with your students, regardless. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Francis again. My question is, most of us here are, well, all of us are teachers, but most of us teach not only kids or teenagers, but also adults. How effective is this with adults compared to teenagers?
Yeah. So with adults, media literacy education, and in fact, the original framework, those questions are for adults, right? The key questions I try to pull out are for when you're working with younger learners. But namely, with all those questions, those are for adults. I don't know about you. For me, when I started to learn this framework, I started to think about my own life and how much I'm affected by media and how I didn't have some of those skills. I wasn't thinking about some of those questions. So 100% you can use this. It doesn't matter if you're 5 or you're 95, you can use media literacy education and those questions to help you interpret media. And I would also say this, even the story of Sherlock, any adult can tell their life story using images, video, and a combination. As you saw in the story of Sherlock and Penelope, it was about my pets, but underlying it is a message about bringing a family together. Everybody has those stories, and any adult can look in their phone like I did, find those images and videos, and tell their story. And by the way, Paulo Freire, his work was actually with adults who were trying to become literate. Adults in Brazil who were not literate in their language. They didn't know how to read and write in their native language. And that's what he said, is that if you're going to try to help adults build literacy, you need to connect them to the world around them and let them tell their stories and let them understand what's happening in their home, outside their front door, and in their communities, to empower them to live a better life. And some of his philosophy, if you read him, he was controversial. He was actually exiled from Brazil for the work that he did. And so 100% I want to say, any age, this is important. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I would like to ask Dr. Shin to please remain with me. As a token of our appreciation for you being part of this conference, we would like to hand in to you a very modest gift from the organization of the conference.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Thank you so much. Look it together.
Thank you very much. So this was Dr. Joan Kang Shin. We thank her for sharing this compelling presentation with us. At this point, I would like you all to take out your cell phones and please scan the QR code and evaluate our presentation. It's extremely important to get your opinion so we can improve in quality in our conferences. At this point, since we're going to end our transmission of this morning, I would like you guys to please look at the camera in the back and say, goodbye, YouTube. Bye, YouTube. Thank you for being with us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for us to part for lunch. Who's hungry? Who's hungry? Well, I'm sorry to say we're not going to go and have lunch yet. However, we're going to have a little bit of fun. At this point,